Hi, welcome to the Heather Penny podcast. We're excited to have you here. We've got some great guests joining us, a lot of profound wisdom and insight that I think you're going to learn a lot, because I know we get to learn from one another and we just get to join our collective wisdom together and move out into this world so that we can get more clarity, more confidence, and more courage. More importantly, so that you can step into the life that only you are made for. So let's dive in. Michelle, it's so fun to have you. We have Michelle Haakenson here with us today, and I'm super excited because we have just a ball together. I think we've talked about almost everything under the sun that we can think of, huh, Michelle?
For sure. Absolutely. And more.
And more. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot from our listeners is this just appreciation for almost like they get to eavesdrop on our coaching calls together. So when I thought about that a little more, I go, who else would I love to have on the show but Michelle Haakenson, because we've had such great conversations. And I'd like us to kind of just jump in there, because everything that we're doing in our coaching is always about clarity, confidence, courage. As you'll see in my book that I'm really that is out for sales now, but it's kind of this idea of we kind of come to a crossroad in our life and we realize I'm ready for something more. I'm ready for something, but I can't quite name it, So I guess I want to start there, Michelle. What made you kind of want to reach out? And then what were some of the big threads that kind of led through our coaching conversations?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my husband and I, at the time when you and I first got to know each other, we were going through a major transition in our lives. And I actually didn't know that I was looking for coaching at the time, but we met through a mutual friend. And it was during that time that I was listening to you, and I just felt so drawn to what you were offering and what you were talking about. And I just thought, man, she is someone that I want to get to know better. And one of the big things was I feel like at the time I definitely wasn't living in a lot of freedom. I felt really bound up and really felt controlled by other people, and just felt in a lot of bondage. And so I was definitely ready for something new and different.
Oh man, I hear you. You kind of talked a little bit about this idea of feeling controlled, bound up. What was one of the epiphanies in one of our conversations? And I'm totally going to put you on the spot. So sorry. So I'm going to buy you a little time and keep talking. But think of a powerful epiphany that helped you start moving into more freedom and started helping you get out of some of this bondage that was weighing you down.
Yeah. So I was feeling like I had to be what other people were expecting me to be. And so I was just having a hard time not pleasing other people, like feeling like, oh, what am I going to do if I'm in with this group of people and this is their expectations and I got to meet other people's expectations? Because if I don't, then I'm going to be left alone. And so all of that was just, really scary for me. And so I remember having a conversation with you, and I was going to be with a big group of people, and just was talking to you and saying, Heather, how do I handle this group? Because I feel like this is what they're going to expect of me. And yet that's not who I am. Mm-hmm. And you really helped me to see that I don't need to be what other people are expecting me to be. I'm okay with who I am right now and in this present moment. And just that whole concept of I'm okay. And so I was trying to be, we look at the passage in John 15 in the Bible, and Jesus is talking about I am the vine and you are the branch. And the concept that just really resonated with me was that I was trying to be people's vine, and that's not my job. And all that I can be is the branch. And what I mean by that is, I'm here to walk through life with you and to encourage you, but I can't be the person that, that you're like, I can't be your everything. So, I can encourage you. I can love you through whatever hard times you're going through. And I can't even just tell you the big weight that was taken off my shoulders and the big aha moment that was for me personally.
I love it. And just to give a little context for our listeners, give them a little idea of what was your job? What were you doing? And why was the vine or the branch such an awesome metaphor for you? It wasn't like you were selling widgets, right?
No, for sure not. So, a little bit of background. My husband's a pastor and I was a pastor's wife at the time. And, I would walk into a room or into a situation and expecting to be everyone's best friend. And, that was just a lot of pressure that I was putting on myself and also the pressure that I felt like other people were putting on me. And, does that make sense as I'm talking about?
Totally. It makes so much sense. And if you know Michelle, and this is why when I came across our conversations together, I go, "Ooh, I bet that is hard because you're so engaging and you're so fun." It's really desirable to be your best friend.
Well, you're really sweet. I'm not sitting here trying to honestly like build myself up in that way. It's just the pressure that I put on myself and I feel like others were putting on me. And when I just really wanted just to sit back and like you said, just enjoy being with whoever I was talking to at the time. And I felt very aware of what was going on in the room and in the environment. So yeah,
I loved it.
It's just the biggest piece of it was the fact that I was really being a people pleaser at the time and feeling like that's how I was going to get people's approval.
And what I'm excited about is, the series is on strengthening your identity. So that's why I was really excited to talk with you. And I want to say, how did that impact your identity?
Right.
Big question, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Because I was really concerned, once again, what other people thought of me. And what if I'm not who people are expecting me to be? And to see that, to name that, and to live out of like, what is truth here and what is not true, is something that we would talk about in our coaching calls.
Yeah.
It was big, big aha moments. It's like things that were inside of me, but I needed to be able to draw that out and to see that. And I wasn't able to see that on my own. So definitely needed a lot of clarity in that way.
And I love it because, clarity is about stopping and resting and really asking, why am I doing this? Confidence is really about shifting your mindset and going after your beliefs. So as you started realizing, wait a minute, not only am I expecting to be the vine for everybody. That's a great metaphor. I love it. And it's so appropriate for the context that you are living and working in, a faith-based spiritual context. And that metaphor really worked for you. Then you're realizing, and this is where I think too, I was kind of watching it going, and you know what? You're probably not totally wrong. When you're in a place of leadership like that, you're not crazy, Michelle. People have these expectations of you. And if you don't stop that expectation and say, wait a minute, I'm so busy meeting your expectation that I'm not taking my own identity back. And so all of our mental energy, our emotional energy, our spiritual energy, physical energy is so zeroed in on how do I keep you happy versus how do I develop and grow?
Exactly. And I didn't even realize how exhausted I was, trying to be that for other people. And it wasn't fair for them and it wasn't fair for me, So living in that space.
What were some of the benefits you saw that started coming out of that time when you realized I'm not the vine? I get to just be a nice little branch and everybody else gets to find their vine. What came out of that for you?
I think I became a much more authentic person because I was living out of my true self. And I think a lot of freedom came out of that. And so I don't know how else to say it, but if you're someone that is struggling with, what are other people's expectations? What are they expecting of me? Who do I need to be for them? it's exhausting, and it's not how we are meant to be. That's not what we were created for.
Right.
And so, and I didn't even realize how much I was doing that.
Mm-hmm. It's not sustainable, is it?
No, it definitely wasn't sustainable, but I was exhausted because I had done that for a long time. And in the beginning, it worked. I was able to do it for a little while. But then after a while, it was really, it was just getting the best of me. And I just knew I needed a change in my life. So that was honestly the beginning. I feel like that was like maybe one of the first things that I began to look at. And then out of that, I feel like so many other things just began to fall into place. And it was kind of a domino effect from there.
Yeah. Do you ever feel that pull to keep people pleasing? Or do you feel like you're getting stronger against that pull?
I definitely think I'm getting a lot stronger, and it feels great. I think, we all have so many deep-rooted issues that come out of just wounds that we've had and patterns that we've lived in for a long time, a lot of us from childhood. And I think what is important is that we begin to see those patterns that have been created. And so again, when you take time out and kind of like you get on your tire swing, like you've been talking about, you then can look and go, oh, I'm doing it again. Here I am. I'm trying to please other people. Okay, I need to get back on track, and what am I listening to? What are the false things that I'm listening to? And then what are the true things that are true about me and a place that I want to be living in?
I love it.
Moving in that direction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think all our listeners can relate to that. We all feel that pull. So I want to go to this question. As you are resisting that pull of people pleasing, kind of what I call the tap dancing, right? Da, 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 da. How do I make you happy? How do I make you happy? Or even like, what script do you have for me to play? As we kind of resist that pull and we start moving into more freedom. And I love that you use that word. Mm-hmm. What helps you resist that pull, and what helps you start cultivating more and more freedom? What helps you kind of pull away from that tug that says you have to people please? Is there things you do or people you talk to? Tell the listeners a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people are trying to figure out how to resist that temptation.
I mean, honestly, I feel like the biggest piece in all of this is to take time to really sit and think about kind of where you're at, what's going on. So I've been really enjoying learning about something called the welcoming prayer. And it really fits into all lifestyles, whether you have a faith base or not. But it's, I give up my desire for security, affection, and control, which is something that all of us struggle with. Those different areas with security, with affection and control. And then you say, so I give up my desires for security, affection, and control, and I live in this present moment as it is. I love
it.
And I sit there, and even as I say, I let go of my desire for security, and I just kind of sit with that. And I say, is that what I'm struggling with right now, with security? Or is it affection that I'm wanting other people, again, the pleasing, or control, which, I think when fear comes into play, then my control really sets in, and I want to control my situation. And I am really learning a lot about the importance of just releasing and letting go. And that has been really key for me. So as I sit in that in the morning, and I try to look at, like, are there things that, that I'm struggling with in those three areas, and then just letting those go and paying attention to them, but not only paying attention to them in the moment right then, but also throughout my day.
I love that.
In those times when all of a sudden I'm feeling like okay, I'm sensing myself tensing up, or I'm not feeling at ease within myself. And then and looking at like, okay, what's going on right now? So it's
Okay,
been,
so you actually use, sorry, what were you
no,
saying?
that's just been big for me right now. Yeah.
So you actually use cues from your body to help you see when you're getting triggered. Tell us a
Heather,
little bit more about that.
I am so into this right now. So, I feel like there's just been so many different books I've read about it and podcasts I've listened to, and just about how important it is to be paying attention to our body. And that's the first place that like actually we feel things. And our body is trying to signal to us that there's something that's just not right now. And, I wouldn't say in the beginning that was easy. It was a little bit easier for me than my husband, because my husband's been practicing the same thing. And I just tend to be more in touch with my body than he is. But it's been a big transformation for both of us as we've been becoming more aware. So, so if you just take a minute and you just, take a deep breath, and then you just, say to yourself, like, where am I sensing something in my body right now? And I've never had a time that I haven't felt something somewhere. So a lot of times for me, it's in my gut. I feel things in my gut. And so I just pay attention to that. And what do I feel like is going on right now? And release it, release what's going on. And then, like I said, after that, then to, say that prayer, that welcoming prayer of what am I struggling with security, affection, and control, which is also known as the 3 energy centers.
That's
that
powerful.
Talked about a lot in secular, in secular, what do I want to say? I can't think of the word, but
outside the faith-based world.
Yeah, outside of the faith. Yeah, that's commonly known.
Yeah, it makes me think, I believe all truth is so transferable. So you'll hear it everywhere, right? So
exactly.
even as you were talking, I couldn't help but think of, I'm a huge fan of the 12 steps. And what's the number one step? Almost like I want to say, hi, my name is Heather. I'm a recovering people pleaser and codependent.
Right. God grant me the serenity, right? Accept the things I cannot change. Change
and, I admit there's a higher power than me. I mean, talk about this relief of, I don't have to do life on my own. It's not all on my shoulders. And I wonder how much of that is really the core of all the anxiety that's running rampant in our society and our world. This false belief that we start creating, I've got to figure this out by myself. I don't get relief from any kind of anxiety. Peace is very elusive to me. These are all false beliefs I hear over and over from clients where I go, okay, we get to address that somewhere in there. And whether it was childhood or just adulthood or something, continue to perpetuate this false belief that basically I don't get to live in peace. So what I love so much that you're saying is you're going, we get to live in peace and here's how I do it. That's why I love it.
Oh yeah. It's brought so much peace to me, and I am just so appreciative of it. And, that's been awesome. And I just think, Heather, in our stage of life, when we're talking about identity and strengthening identity, there's so many changes, right? Because I feel like I've always been I've identified myself as a wife, as a woman, as a wife, as a mother of 4 children, and now as a grandma for the first time.
Congratulations.
So thank you. I've been a grandparent now for 4 whole months, and it is amazing. But, through all of that, I've had big changes, and I feel like my world has been kind of rocked upside down. And in that, you came in my life right then. And it was just such an important, and it was an important time to be able to look at things. And I'm just so grateful we've had in coaching, because, like I said before, I really like to control my world as much as I can. And I was in a space where, things were changing and I had to ride that roller coaster and it was scary. And, going through a lot of unknowns. And when you're going through unknowns, you don't have a lot of clarity in the beginning. And I was really lacking confidence and courage and, the 3C living. And I'm so grateful for all of that. So, we began coaching in October of 2018.
I can't believe that.
I know, it's crazy, but I was going through a lot of hard things and I wasn't really sure where things were going to land. And I remember you telling me too, like, well, Michelle, this is a process. And I was thinking, oh no, I do not want a process. I cannot have this take time. I could relate to Brene Brown when she first went to her counselor and she said, oh, hell no. Like, I need this all to be figured out within the next 6 months, and it has been a ride and it's been challenging for me. And yet I wouldn't change it. And I wouldn't say that I'm at the end and I don't expect to get there. I think that's part of life is that we're on a journey and it's going to take a lot of twists and turns, but it's being comfortable living in the now and with what is just being put before us and not looking at, well, once I get over here or once things change, then I'll be okay. Right. Or when I make it over here or when I figure this out, it's being comfortable with where you're at right now. That is just so important.
I love it. Thank you for just being so transparent, Michelle, because that's what I'm hearing more and more from our listeners. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. And that's why I picked you. I was like, oh, she'll be honest. She can't not be honest. And I love it about you. And in our friendship, I've just always loved it. I'm like, well, Michelle will tell me the truth. Michelle's the type of friend. She'll tell you if there's food in your teeth. She will not let you walk out on stage. So I know who to go to I'm like, check my teeth. I'm going to go on stage. She's that kind of friend, which I absolutely love. And I think one of the things I've learned so much from you, Michelle, is just how to shift. When you came to work with me, I have to be careful how I say this because it's so, it could almost feel disrespectful, but I'm like, I was excited because I know you were at a crossroad for your identity shifting. In the moment, it feels like the bottom of your life is just falling out underneath you. And I'm like, oh, we just outgrew all those old beliefs. You need new beliefs to replace them, like the vine. And I get to live my own life and I actually get to live in peace and freedom. And I get to listen to my body. I mean, just basic beliefs in middle age, where a lot of times we call it midlife crisis. And I want to say, oh, it feels like a midlife crisis. But I also want to say it's actually a midlife opportunity. And the only reason I can say that is because I've done my own work. I've met with so many,
you have.
Right?
Yes.
And I had my own conversation with my counselor in my late 20s going, did you say 2 years? I was so angry at her. I said, I'm giving you 2 months, lady.
And here I am going on 3 years and I'm still, in process.
Right. It's you realize how much you're benefiting from it. And you kind of say, I need more. And I actually like who I am more. It's worth the pain. Right. And I guess I want to say, what encouragement would you give our listeners who might feel like I'm at that crossroad that Michelle's talking about? And this doesn't feel exciting or hopeful. And I don't really appreciate how they're calling it a midlife opportunity. Right. It's a crisis, right? What kind of hope would you give them?
So the hope is that it's simple. It's not hard if you're willing to go through it, because you keep asking yourself the same questions, but you have to be willing to answer those questions and to do the hard work. It's not something that you can just do once and say, okay, well, now I'm fine, or now I have all the answers. It takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of hurt that's involved, because you have to really dive deep into your inner work and look at where those root issues are. We all have root issues. that come up and that we need to be willing to look at. And it's like, oh, and when they come up over and over and over again, you just feel like, I feel like I've already been here. Why am I here again? But you're there at a different, deeper level. And that's what's exciting. As I look back on journals from a few years ago and to look at the issues I was going through and the questions I was asking, I'm at such a different place than I was at then. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah. That's important to look back. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. What was that last statement you said?
I think I was just saying the same thing, that I feel like that's really important.
Oh, yeah.
To do that.
Yeah. Taking time to look back is really helpful, and why you're embarking on this confusing, painful journey. And I think one of the things I've always admired about you, you hear me talk about clarity, confidence, courage, but I tell you, working with control issues takes a ton of courage, right? Because it's like riding the roller coaster and throwing your hands up, and you don't have, if anyone rides those roller coasters and grips it like me, I mean, we get that feeling, and to throw your hands up, that's what you're asking the people to do, and so much more, and to live that way. That's where I've really admired your courage. I've learned a lot from you.
Well, and Heather, going off of what you just said too, the truth is that we don't have to do the work. We can stay stuck where we're at, but that's exactly where we will be, is we'll be stuck. And I was just listening to someone else last night, and they were talking about how that's truly living in suffering. And if you want to stay in suffering, we can, right? We can stay there, and it feels safe. It feels comfortable.
Right.
But there's so much more for us out there. There's so much more of life to experience. And even in this huge transition that we're in, my husband and I, we took a huge leap. He took a huge job transition. And we're in the midst of that. And it's been really scary, but it's been so exciting too. And if we would not have taken that risk, we could have just stayed where we were at and stayed complacent where we were at. But that wasn't what was meant to be. We were meant to do something else, something different. And it's been a really scary process, but at the same time, even in the short 6 months that we've made this big change, we both look back and we say, we're so glad we did it. We're so grateful we did it, and we went and changed that. And I think along with that, so when you stay with where you're at and everything feels known, then that's what you have. You just have what's known. But when you live in the unknown, you have so many possibilities.
Yeah. Sometimes it feels scary, but it's also exciting, right?
It's so scary. And, but I love living in those possibilities. And that's where I need to live, because that's what helps me to be okay with where I'm at today. Because there's so many possibilities. And it's really exciting when you see possibilities come to fruition.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Just kind of feel proud of yourself?
I do. Yeah,
Good.
I definitely do. But again, I have to say that none of that would have been possible if we didn't have people around us supporting us through that. And, you were a really big part of that too. And we're just so appreciative of that. So it's hard to make those. It's really hard. To make those big leaps, and you need people in your life who are going to support you and to a cheerleader for you and encourage you and to help you again see truth.
Yeah. I often say you just need one person in your corner to do great things. And when I feel that scared feeling, writing a book, launching it, and I've had my roller coaster ride, and you've heard from some of it too, which I've also been so grateful, because you lend me your courage as well. But I think having people who are committed to that clarity, that confidence, and that courage, and will stand with you in it. And I even know sometimes we've texted false beliefs back and forth saying, I'm standing against this false belief, and I'm trying to reach to this true belief. Like, good heavens, somebody help me here. And sometimes that's the only text that flies back and forth. And I feel like That's what I hope for everybody. I hope everybody has someone in the corner that sees the fight that they're up against. And they're not trying to take the fight from them. They're not trying to get them out of the fight. They're saying, you can do it. You can do it. Tell me how I can support you. Mm-hmm. And being able to have that clarity to say, this is what I'm fighting against. I call it my false belief, or, this is what I'm trying to shut down. This is what I'm reaching for. And the true belief could be something like, I get to live in peace. And I'm trying to let go of that false belief of I have to live in anxiety. It can be that simple. But I tell you, on the days when you're living with so much fear and anxiety, those true beliefs feel almost too good to be true. It almost feels like it's mocking you, huh?
Definitely. And I believe you had Joe on for your first podcast a couple of ago. And that is something that I could so relate to that he shared, is that, Heather, we would talk about my true beliefs. And it's not that you're not telling us our true beliefs. You're helping us to identify our true beliefs. We're the ones stating what our true beliefs are. But in that, he said, but the true beliefs feel too good to be true. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can so relate to that. That is so true.
Yeah. I realized it almost felt disrespectful when I was working with clients, and I'd say, well, what's true? They're like, crickets. They're kind of like, Heather, if I knew it was true, I'd tell you. Like right now, it feels true that I live in anxiety. Like, why are you asking me that? And I realized, that almost feels cruel to ask people that. I want to say that's your false belief. Now, let me ask you this question. It's a little finer way to ask it. What feels too good to be true? When I ask it that way, they go, oh my gosh, did I get to live in peace?
Right, exactly.
And I go, there we go. Bingo. We found your true belief. Can I help you reach for that? Can I help equip that for you? Can I help you move forward in that and what that looks like for you?
Yeah.
How do you get to step into it? What are the peace practices we get to start doing? And peace and anxiety is just a common one, but it's transferable everywhere. And in my book, I talk about, I think I have a list, I want to say almost a page long, of the common false beliefs. I decided I'm just going to list them for everybody because I hear them all day long. And now I've gotten really good at going, that sounds like a false belief. And I don't like to tell people that because I don't want them to feel like I'm judging them. So I just gently will say, wow, it sounds like we might want to check our belief there. And I remember working with one amazing leader. She's like, that's all you said to me, Heather. Then you walked away. She goes, I never forgot it. I started realizing, what am I believing? All I'm gently doing is exposing the ability of choice. And many of us are victimized by our mindset and we don't even realize it. And my hope for all of humanity is saying, you actually get to cultivate your mindset. You get to cultivate your confidence level. You also get to cultivate your clarity, and you get to cultivate your courage. A lot of times people think, oh, I either have it or I don't. There's nothing I can do about it. And I want to go, oh no, you get to cultivate all of that. If I could be a hope for anybody, I want to say you get to go for it. So as you step into kind of this next season in life, what's kind of the hope you're hanging on to?
Wow. Good question. I'm hopeful for a lot of things. I believe that there's great things in store for me. I believe that there's adventure, that there's abundance, that God has good gifts for me, that I'm okay right now with exactly where I'm at. And that just brings a lot of peace.
Oh, you look peaceful.
Thank you. In the midst of everything.
I know. Yeah. And I love all the foliage in the background. For our listeners, Michelle's got her beautiful backyard in California, all behind her, all the trees. She looks like she's the epitome of peace.
Can I point out one other thing that that just made me think of something? So I think it's great for listeners to know too, that again, we all need to be grounded in our true beliefs. Or some people see it as our true selves. And Heather, you yourself, I feel like just model this really well because you have note cards that you keep.
I do.
And you keep your true beliefs on there. And you've modeled that for me, and something that I now do as well, because I think it's important. We need to be reminded of our true beliefs, right? And part of that is just to be kind to ourselves, because we can be so hard on ourselves. And I think every single person listening to this today can relate to that, to being hard on themselves and not having compassion, right? There's so much out there right now about being kind to yourself and living in self-compassion and what that looks like. And that is so challenging for us to do.
Oh, it is. Even as you were talking about the body, I just loved that, because I thought, how many years have I lived kind of in an antagonistic relationship with my body? Mad that my stomach's upsetting, mad that I'm sick, irritated that it needs to rest or eat, all these things. I realized, man, I lived in almost a very mean and abusive relationship with my body to push it to go along. And as I've aging, we're in our 50s now, we're halfway through. We're like, wait a minute, I think I want to befriend my body. And as you were talking, I've often said anxiety is a gift. And that's a really hard statement to swallow, because any of us who struggle with anxiety, myself included, or even anxiety attacks, it feels like we're dying. I understand that. But once we start embracing that our body is trying to tell us something, and then get to transfer that to actually acting out and protecting ourselves, or moving away from things, or addressing people pleasing, whatever it is, what a gift that our body is signaling to us so many different things. So I love that you brought that up, Michelle, because I've learned a lot about that from you, as you've taught me so much about the body piece. And are you in the body quadrant with the Enneagram?
I am. Yes.
Okay. For any of our listeners who are into Enneagrams, there's the body quadrant, there's the heart quadrant, and the head.
Yep. And head.
Okay. Head. So I'm in the heart quadrant, and it's 2, 3, and 4. Michelle's in the, go ahead, Michelle.
I'm in the body, which is 8, 9, and 1.
Okay, cool. And Michelle's taught me a lot about the Enneagram. Go ahead.
And then you're in the heart, 2, 3, and 4s. And then the head is 5, 6, and 7s.
Yeah.
So, and see, my husband is in the head. And so for him to get out of his head and to get into his body, it's taken a lot of work. He's done a lot of hard work in that. But again, you start doing the work and it starts happening. It's exciting.
Well, I'm going to be bringing him on too. So, because I love your husband too. We've got a great friendship there too. So we'll have him talk about some of that. Let me end a little bit with this. You talked a little bit about identity, true beliefs, staying grounded in that, and kind of the cards. What do you call yourself, Michelle?
I call myself beloved. I am loved. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah. That I'm loved. I'm enough. I have a lot to offer myself and others, that I'm caring.
Can you just hear the peace of Michelle's voice when she started saying that?
And it's hard. It's hard. Even if I'm saying it, I'm like,
yeah, that's what I was like. We're going there, pal.
I feel like I'm being seen or known. And I was just thinking, again, it's just so easy for the false beliefs to come in. If you're not careful, you have to pay attention to that, because it's like, was I carrying earlier this morning when I was talking to my son, or, all of those things. But again, it's all about grace too. We need to have a grace for ourselves, grace for others. But what I'd really like to leave the listeners with as well is I just feel like I'm learning so much about until we truly love ourselves and have that self-compassion, we can't have it for others. Yeah. And that has been such a big aha moment for me, because, growing up in a faith community, I've been taught all my life about how you shouldn't think about you. You need to put yourself last. You need to put everyone else first, and you shouldn't care about yourself, and I feel like I'm having this complete shift of seeing, no, I'm being called um, to love myself
Yeah.
and to have compassion for myself. And then it's through that actually that I am so much more loving
Yeah.
towards other people,
Yeah.
my family and my friends and community and people I come in contact with in the grocery store.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of a memory, and I hope it's okay that I share it. And if it's not, we'll edit it out. Okay.
Of course.
Okay. I'm thinking of, we were on a bike trip together, and I said, you got to stop calling yourself that. Do you remember what it was? That's why I was like, I'm going to ask you what you call yourself now. And I just love that it didn't come up, because now I want you to tell everybody what you used to call yourself.
I'm so excited that you just said that, because of course, right away it comes up, but that is not the first thing that came to my mind.
Fun?
The first thing that came to my mind was, I am beloved.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah.
Yes. But what I used to say is, well, when I get healthy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. I'm so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And
it called me out.
Yeah, I called you out. I was like, I can't handle this anymore. You are not unhealthy. You're healthy. You're one of the healthiest people I know, because you're doing the work. Like, nobody's asking you to be perfect. Just do the work, people. That to me is a sign of health, right? Yep. We're just willing to show up. We're willing to do the work. And even as my counselor used to call it, do your growth work. Do your growth work, Hev. Do your growth work. And I think that's where I want to kind of leave our listeners with. Have the courage to do your growth work.
Absolutely.
Get the clarity of where you need to do your growth work. Get a buddy in your corner to help you with your confidence, to support your belief system, and have the courage to step into it and say, I get to be who I want to be. I get to become the person I want to become. And I really do get to live the life that I'm made for. Mm-hmm. And that's why I wrote the book. Really, that's the nutshell. If I could leave everybody with that.
So, Heather,
with
that, I know we need to end here soon.
Yeah.
But like, when you think about your book, how do you feel like your book can help people move towards that?
Great question. I think what I tried to do is make them feel like they may not, I can't take on any more clients. You know, the work that I'm doing is just just I have a beautiful client load, and I have beautiful people I work with, but I wanted to figure out how to make myself more accessible. I want them to feel like when they buy this book, they just hired me as their coach. And they're going to get 6 chapters of clarity. So I try to just methodically write it out. They're going to get 6 chapters of confidence. They're going to get 6 chapters of courage, and they're going to get me. They're going to hear examples with me. And that's the way I coach, right? When on my work with you, I was like, all right, Michelle, I'm going to just tell you how I do some things. And I'm going to tell you some of my learning curves. I'm going to tell you some of my growth work.
Right.
Because I want to kick that pedestal out from underneath me. I don't have all the answers. I'm in this journey as well. And I've learned some things. And if it helps you, I'll pull it out. So I think that's what I want to do with this book.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think something else along with that, if I can just bring out another little piece of it.
Sure.
But I think that this book is going to be awesome to do some of your own inner work personally as you're reading through it, and, able to answer some things and journal about it and talk out loud. But I think an important piece is also going to be to either confide or do this with someone else would be really helpful, or to do it with a small group could be really helpful too.
Oh, I love that.
In the process, because I think it takes someone else helping you to see your true beliefs, but also your false beliefs. It's like when we were on that walk, and you said, Michelle, I don't want to hear you say this anymore. Or do you hear yourself saying this? Because I think so often we don't hear the negative messages we're feeding ourselves. And so we need other people in our lives. So to be in a safe group with safe people could be really helpful.
I love that. And you already got my wheels turning, because I already am going, I want to do some webinars. I want to do some group work. I want to do a lot of this kind of stuff. So I've got some fun, exciting things that are coming that are connected with the book that it'll be fun to see how that starts supporting people in their journey. Because of course, my goal is to get it out as much and as big as possible. So everybody has their truth to be able to step into more freedom and to step into the life that I believe every single person, there's a Michelle-shaped hole in this world that she's got to step into it. And if she doesn't, the world will be lesser for it. There's a Heather-shaped hole. I've got to step into that. And I got to have the confidence to step into it. And I want to go after every barrier that's saying, you don't deserve to step into it. Nobody really wants your message. Nobody wants to hear it. And people think just because I live and coach with this, that I don't deal with that. I tell everybody, and you'll read it in the book. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm telling you how I've overcome my own fears.
Right.
I'm telling you how I got rid of some of my own issues of thinking that I couldn't find my own life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying it from this perch of like, I hope everybody can do this as good as me. And I know you aren't either, Michelle. We're saying it from the perch that says, here's how we stumbled and fumbled our way along. And here's how we're committed to keep growing. And doggone it, we're going to, with our last breath, we're going to take this all the way to the end and say, we get to live in a life of freedom. We get to live in a world that says, I get to show up. So thank you so much, Michelle. It was so fun having you.
It was a privilege to be on here. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, my friend. All right, listeners. So good to have Michelle here, and stay tuned for more because we're going to be unpacking more of these coaching conversations. Take care, everyone, and live in more and more freedom.